So you're selling something expensive. You've been running ads, you've been sending emails, you've done everything that you're supposed to do, but you are not getting any high ticket sales. Believe it or not, this is a more common problem than you might think, and 9 times out of 10, it just comes down to trust. So today, I'm gonna show you how to build that trust and drive more high ticket sales out of your website using a few different tactics that you can use pretty quickly to get more high ticket sales. My name is Trent Kennelly. I'm a marketing strategist, and on this channel, I talk about all the things that you can do to improve your business through marketing, sales, and analytics. So if that sounds good to you and you're excited, make sure that you like this video, subscribe to my channel if you're into it, comment and let me know what you're trying to sell that's high ticket, that's maybe over $100, what your difficulty has been. I would love to be able to help you, and let's get started. So 2 seconds before we dive in real quick, this is not the video about all the little tweaks on your website, your button and your copy and all that sort of stuff. If you want that, check out this video. What we're talking about here is a cycle, a selling cycle, how you can get people from cold traffic all the way through to buying your high ticket offer more efficiently. And the first thing that we need to do to understand this is understand why they aren't buying in the first place. We can answer this by remembering where people are in your buying cycle. It's very likely that when people are coming to this page, this is the first time that they've seen this offer on your site. So they need to understand why they actually want to buy from you. Now, of course, people are going to be familiar with you in many cases already, especially if you've built up social clout, which we'll talk about in just a few minutes. But if your offer is too high too soon, you may lose people's interest before it's even had time to build or blossom while they're reading the site and getting excited about what your offer is. Typically, people aren't buying your high ticket offer because you haven't compelled them to want to. When your users are coming to the page, they need to be shown that you want to help them or you want to give them what they want to succeed in their own life. It's all about them and how they feel. What you don't want to do is make it seem like you're just trying to sell anything to them without a care for what they get out of it. Build it and they will come is a myth. In fact, most likely you aren't getting conversions because you haven't convinced them that there's enough value for the price that you're asking them to pay. Especially when it comes to things that are high ticket, so maybe they cost more than $100, that's a good definition of high ticket. You've got to show that, yes, they're paying a lot, but what they get back from paying that $100 or $200 or $500 is so much better and it's so valuable for their life. So the first step to get people to pay for your high ticket offer is what I'm going to call the pre-pitch. Now, there are 2 main ways to do this pre-pitch to show people that they don't have to hesitate about buying your high ticket offer. And it could be good to do both of these in the long run, but what you're gonna see is that one is a lot faster than the other. So the first option is to build your clout. This is gonna take a long time. This is the long option, but it's something that you probably should be doing anyway because it's eventually very good for your organic growth, so you don't have to pay for as many ads, etc. You want people to look at your brand as the authority in the thing that you're trying to sell. There are a lot of strategies for this. Most of them include social media or a blog or could be even an email newsletter, that sort of thing can really be very valuable for getting people to warm up to you over time. You can check this video out for the best social media platforms and a breakdown of those. But other than that, I'm not really gonna go into social media strategy here. That is a whole high ticket course on its own. The point here is that building clout builds trust in people without them having to buy anything from you. And building clout really pulls at that emotional trigger of reciprocity. You can check out this video for a lot of emotional triggers and how they work, but this one is that feeling of obligation that someone has because they've received so much from you that they feel the need to repay you in some way. And what better way to repay you than to buy your product or service? It also builds trust from the perspective of knowledge and authority. You're showing your deep knowledge, which allows people to feel more confident that whatever they pay you for will have way more value than what they've just been getting for free on YouTube or Instagram or whatever. The second option, the much faster one, is to start with a low ticket offer. So the universal rule of business here is that it costs less to get someone to buy from you a second time than it did for them to become your customer in the first place. It's also much easier to get a second yes out of someone than the first yes. So if they've said yes to you one time, they're more likely to say yes to you a second time. And when you first start selling to a prospect, they might not have a reason to trust you, but if you can get them to say yes the first time, if you can convince them of that authority, then you can establish that value in that low ticket offer. Another important point for why you should do this is that it's much easier to influence people to buy something that's cheaper. Often there is a direct relationship between price and the willingness to pay. There are a lot of other factors in play, including value, which we'll get to later, but the basic point here is that people need to feel like what they're paying for is worth the price that they're paying. And especially in the case of an unknown entity, as you may be, the value is very important. So the way you'd go about this is pretty simple. You just send people to that low ticket offer first. You need to consider the price here and use psychological pricing to make sure that people see the advantages of buying right now. Now, there are obviously a lot of psychological triggers I've talked about already in this video, but one of the main ones to consider in this point when we're doing that low ticket offer is price anchoring, which means that you're setting a price expectation in someone's mind that's high and then you're shattering it with a lower price. So this is what happens when you see those cheesy infomercials where someone says, you might think that all of this stuff is worth $100, but no, for the next 30 minutes, we're selling it for only $19.99. That is price anchoring. They've set that high price expectation at $100 and they've shattered it at $19.99. Now, what I didn't mention is that this sentence also creates urgency because there's that 30-minute window. It says you only have 30 minutes to get this deep discount, and that creates that feeling of urgency, that feeling of needing to do this right now. So if you can establish a low ticket item is worth what you're asking them to pay, that it's way less than they expect it to be, and that there is no risk at getting it, you will get them every time. Last point here, it's really important that this low ticket offer not be low effort. Remember, your goal is to get them to buy that high ticket offer. So if you shoot out some ebook in a day that doesn't give any substantive information, people are gonna be really unimpressed. And really unimpressed people do not buy high ticket offers. Your goal is actually to blow them away here. You want them to go, wow, this is so amazing. How could they ever top it? And when you get that reaction, you've earned the sale. So after we've started building that clout, after we've got that low ticket offer out there, the next step is to pitch the higher offer. Because at this point, again, you've either got that clout or that low tier offer that's bringing people in, which puts you at an advantage over people who are just trying to make sales cold. But there's also no reason to think that these people are just hanging out on your site looking for the next offer that you have for them. Your job at this point is to convince the user to come back and spend more money with you. So you want to draw some clear correlations between your lower offer and this higher tier one. And the way you pitch this higher tier offer is twofold. So theoretically, you got their email address at some point, either through a freebie or a low ticket offer or whatever, and you'll have identified these people as warm and start an email series. Now, I know that this next part is not sexy, but you have to do it. You need to make sure that the people that you're about to email have double opted in. If you want to deep dive into this idea, into double opt-in to understand how that works, check out this video. But just a summary here, double opt-in is just showing affirmative interest in receiving marketing emails. And if you don't set this up, prepare to be sued and it's gonna suck. So just set up the double opt-in. Okay, so let's discuss the email series a little bit more. So you're sending them 5 to 7 emails that start in a more content-driven direction, like providing lots of value without making any real huge ask, and then they gradually move toward a harder and harder sale. Your goal with this series is to engage readers, get them interested in what you have to say so that they're interested in your offer down the line. The current advice for execution is that the first email have no call to action at all, the second have a CTA at the end, the third have one halfway through, and by the 7th you have a CTA at the bottom and the top of each email. The other strategy for high ticket sales is retargeting ads. So a retargeting ad comes from having identified a user visiting your site and sending that user a specific ad based on their previous actions. So you can identify that someone's purchased the low ticket offer and start an ad tailored to low ticket offer purchasers. There's not really anything too complex here. You're basically identifying a specific user and advertising to that specific user. Now, the biggest question that you may have for this strategy in the modern context is how iOS 14.5 has affected this sort of retargeting ad. You can check out this video for a lot of details about the iOS 14.5 changes in general, but in this case, because you have specific information based on the specific actions taken by this user, you aren't restricted to the iOS 14.5 changes. The user has basically given you the permission by giving you that permission to market to them through email or whatever. So make sure that both of these strategies, to the best of your ability, are used because they are the most direct path to success here. So that's really it for the core of the strategy, but you'll probably notice that I've mentioned the word value a lot in this video. So I want to be really clear what it means to provide value. Providing value means that you have helped create a positive effect in others. So if you're selling a cooking course, maybe your low ticket item is a guide to the top 10 techniques to make meals faster. That is directly related to your cooking course, and people feel like they're walking away from the lower offer with a huge amount of knowledge, which again leads to that feeling of, wow, I can't believe how much I'm getting for so little. What is the high ticket offer gonna be like? So there you have it. It really isn't that complicated, but it is important to get those people who start out a little more unsure to give them a low ticket offer so that they're just raring to go by the time they get to that high ticket offer. I hope that that was helpful for you. Let me know what you're selling, how your sales have been up to now, what you're gonna implement here. I would love to know. Otherwise, make sure you like this video, subscribe to my channel if you're into it, and I'll catch you in the next one.